So the first thing in doing a vertical jump properly is the reach. And what they're going to do, they're going to measure the difference between your standing reach versus how high you can jump in reach. And that's going to be your vertical. So for example, if you have a 6.5 foot reach, then that's going to be 78 inches. And then if you jump and touch 9 feet, then the difference between the 9 feet and the 6.5 feet is 2.5 feet or 30 inches. So your vertical would be 30 inches. Now, with the reach, you can get an extra inch, 2 inches, 3 inches with a few tips here. Now, what I'm going to go over, I'm not asking you to cheat. However, what I am going to say is, however they're running the combine, I want you to fit in within the framework of how everyone else is being measured. So, if the combine regulators are forcing everybody to give them everything they got on the reach, and they're doing it properly and accurately, then you need to give them everything you got. However, if they're letting guys fudge a little bit, and some of the tips that I'll show you here are some things that some other guys will be doing, then those are ways that you can get an extra inch or 2 on your vertical before you even jump. So again, I'm not advocating cheating. I'm advocating doing the similar things that the other athletes are doing at the combine or test day that you are at. Now here's a handful of those things. The first thing is they're going to have you take your shoes off and be barefoot. So that's what Jordan is. He doesn't have shoes on. And then they're going to have you stand directly in front with your back against the measuring tape. The next thing they're going to do is they're going to ask you to reach both hands, hand over hand, straight up. Now, the first tip is simple. Spread your feet out a little wider. Because the wider your feet are, the further the shorter you will actually be on your reach. And again, that's a quarter, maybe a half inch. Now, you can't exaggerate it. Right now, Jordan's probably exaggerating a little bit too much. Then most any regulator is going to say, hey, bring your feet in close. So what you want to do is just bring them in good. That's perfect, about shoulder width. Now again, if they're making everybody go straight side by side, so demonstrate that, Jordan, then you got to do what they're making everybody else do. However, if they're letting guys spread their feet to shoulder width apart, do what everybody else is doing. Don't put yourself at a disadvantage before you even jump. Do what the rest of the crowd is doing and what the regulators are asking you to do at the combine. So Jordan, go ahead and spread your feet just a little bit. Now the second tip is simple. Don't lock out totally on your feet. You can't slouch. That's going to be obvious. However, you can have your knees not fully locked out. You can have your chest not fully upright and it not be noticeable. Again, not advocating cheating. I am advocating getting by with what you can get by with to set you up for your best vertical. So for Jordan, we're just going to say we got his feet about shoulder width apart. Knees are not quite locked out. Chest is not exactly all the way upright. Okay, that can be a difference. Now, the second thing they're going to ask you to do is put your hands hand over hand straight up. Now, that's what Jordan's does. Now, some coaches and regulators will force you. They'll actually take your elbows and push them up like that to get your reach. That will be the norm. Okay? However, if they're not making you do that, you don't have to stretch your shoulders all the way up. Again, get by with what they're letting everyone else get by with. Don't make it obvious. And if they want you to give you all you got, give them all you got, because that means they're making everybody else give them all you got. Okay, so with this, again, you don't have to keep your shoulders completely, you don't have to stretch your shoulders way up. If you can keep your shoulders tucked a little bit, now the elbows is where they're really going to notice. So Jordan's elbows are way too bent here, you've got to straighten those out. But again, if you can keep your elbows pretty straight and your shoulders down, feet a little wider, as wide as they'll let you go, knees not locked out, and your chest not totally upright and straight up, then that'll give you another 1/2 inch to 1 inch difference on your vertical jump test. Now I will say this, especially for basketball and volleyball players, even if that you get an extra inch or 2 through this on your vertical, they're also going to be looking at your standing reach. So again, we're not trying to cheat this and get an extra 3, 4, 5 inches on that difference in the vertical. We're trying to get maybe an extra inch or 2, because if your standing reach is low, then that's going to look that's not going to look good on the piece of paper that the scouts or the coaches or whoever gets. So again, we're not trying to cheat, get 3, 4, 5 extra inches. What I want to say though is that there are a few little tips that can give you an extra inch or 2 difference that'll make your vertical on paper look better. So that's the first thing with the reach. And again, I'll say what I started off with. If the coaches and the regulators at your particular combine or pro day or scout day or whatever it is, if they're asking everybody and forcing everybody to give them everything they got, then you need to have your feet in close, your shoulders stretched high, you need to give them everything you got. However, if everybody else coming through the line, they're giving them a little bit of fudge room, then take the fudge room. That's all I'm saying.